Good morning, everybody, and welcome back from Thanksgiving break. This video is for PLC team leaders and administrators, just to kind of go over the things that are going to happen in 9 days at the December 11th half-day in-service when Chris Jakicic comes to visit us again. With the survey results that we looked at were really very helpful. Thank you for those of you who took the time to work with your teams to give us some feedback about where you're at. We forwarded all of the results to Chris Jakicic, and I think the one thing that we took away from the survey was that we needed to give you some time. So essentially, instead of having Chris talk at you, we've set up a schedule where you can work for pretty much the half day. So I'm going to go through the schedule, and then I'm going to have a couple of extra talking points, and that'll be the end of this video. It'll be about 5 minutes. So from 8 to 9, Chris Jakicic in the morning on December 11th will be with the administrative team. Basically just working with admin team to make sure that we're all on the same page, we're saying the same thing, and we're moving along the mission and vision the way we had intended and expressed it to Chris. From 9 to noon, we're going to get subs for the middle school PLC leadership team. The middle school this week is actually working in teams and doing some half-day in-services as well. So we thought it'd be an excellent time to pull them in and work with Chris with their questions. So please bring your work. Don't just come with your questions. Actually show Chris what you're working on. Does the CFA look good? You know, bring your questions and the things that you've had from this week's worth of work into that session. Then from 1 to 2, there's a break in there for Chris and a little bit of time for her and I to set up. And then from 1 to 2, she's going to work with power standards. Now, the vision here is that she'll be in the cafeteria at the high school. You can bring your work in if you've got power standard questions, and she'll move around from table to table. No direct instruction, no PowerPoint presentation. She's just going to move around and help teams work through power standarding. If you've dominated that, you feel like you're confident with it, no sense in showing up for that hour. You can continue to work as you have in the past on a BYOC day. From 2 to 3, she's going to work on common formative assessment. She might do a brief at 2 o'clock CFA, PowerPoint, or just a brief talk, but then again, she's back just working with teams that are struggling with that idea and going from there. And then from 3 to 3:45, she'll be going over unwrapping. We've been doing unwrapping here for many years. The template that we use is just another way to put that stuff in build your own curriculum. So really, we put the smallest amount of time on that. The structure for the day is based on your BYOC collaboration grid. If you're K through 8, you'll be in the same rooms that you've been in the past, working with your cross-district partners. And then taking that work back to your PLC teams sometime at a PLC team meeting in the future. So that's what the intent is for that day. I just want to kind of comment, a couple of you have said, well, we don't have standards. We have standards for every single area in our district at this point. So if you're wondering about science, you can start to gravitate toward that next generation science standards. If you want to power standard that, that's fine. Art, music, FIAD, all of those standards are in Build Your Own Curriculum. So if you have a question about that, please ask an administrator. We'll certainly show you how to find your standards and where to go from there. High school, I know you're on an A-B structure. I'm going to leave it up to you to decide whether you're meeting with your A teams or your B teams. I'm assuming that you guys can figure that out inside of your departments. So what is the work? Basically, we're going to work on the 3 things, which is either power standarding, unwrapping, or starting to create that common formative assessment that you can then, in the future, look at that data. So right now we're in Chapter 5, which is a kind of a difficult chapter. I respect that part of the work here, but we're now sort of at that point where we've been power standarding and unwrapping, and we'd really like to see a CFA come out. The other thought I have is that I'd like to get this entire group together. I picked January 15th at 3:45 to 5 o'clock as the time. It's optional for you, but we'd like to get as many of the PLC team leaders together on that Wednesday. This is a heads-up sort of a moment. If this is a terrible day, and I've done my best to try to make sure that there wasn't something huge going on that day, but I'm sure some of you have coaching, and just let me know via email. If it gets to the point where obviously we're not going to get enough people, I will change the date. But it's a good time mid-year to gather all of us together and meet. thank you so much for the work that you're doing. The leadership that you're providing is so valuable to the students of our district. You have no idea that the cultural shift is very obviously happening here, and it's happening because of you. Thank you so much, and have a great half-day in service on December 11th.